Watching the zombies approach, the duty officer sighed deeply, seemingly accustomed to such sights. Just as he was about to deal with the zombies, two figures quietly slipped through the main gate unnoticed. The guards didn't notice. The figures were Morgan and Althea, on a mission to rescue Tom's sister Janice. The entire estate was eerily quiet. As they reached the stables, they heard a car returning. They had to hide behind a pile of hay. A truck drove in through the gate, passing the stables, followed by a large group of people. Morgan recognized the truck as the oil tanker from the oil fields. Why was the oil tanker here? It seemed there might have been a conflict between the convoy and these people. Morgan worried about his teammates. Morgan wanted to confront them to understand the situation, believing any problem with the convoy was his responsibility. He had been avoiding returning to the convoy, but Althea warned that they would kill him if he went out. Morgan asked how she knew this. Althea said she couldn't reveal her source, but she had encountered people who spoke of building a bigger, stronger future. She suspected this organization might be collaborating with them, ready to eliminate any obstacles. Morgan decided they should split up. He would search for Janice while Althea sought the truth she was after. Quickly finding the room described by Tom, Morgan entered. It was silent, with an open window. At that moment, Morgan heard a noise that came from behind the door. He opened the door on his guard to find a male zombie with a spoon stuck in his chest. Morgan, trying to be quiet, pushed the zombie onto the balcony to create distance, preparing to kill it, but the balcony railing broke, and the zombie fell from the second floor. Morgan quickly contacted Althea, suggesting Janice might have dealt with her attacker and escaped the apartment. He said they needed to leave immediately. Meanwhile, Althea discovered something in a room, a large network on a map, with some locations marked with keys. Their significance unknown. The patrolling guards hadn't noticed the fallen zombie, hiding in a corner. Althea was suddenly attacked by the zombie, pushing her into a swimming pool, struggling in the water, where she had no foothold. Althea found it extremely difficult to fight back. She could only grapple with the zombie in the water, doing her best to avoid being bitten. Fortunately, Morgan arrived in time, jumping into the water to kill the zombie. He helped Althea out of the water, saying they needed to leave, but when they turned around, several people were waiting for them by the pool. With the petrol, their generator was up and running and the lights were illuminating the flat. They were like fish on a chopping board. Surprisingly, they were not tortured, which was completely against what they had expected given the group's previous behavior in hunting down Tom. Virginia then came in from outside and started to praise the way the Althea documentary had been publicized, and then asked Morgan what they were doing here. Morgan replied that they were looking for Janice, to which Virginia, with a knowing smile, said it seemed they had met Tom. Althea questioned Virginia about why she had to kill Tom, to which Virginia coldly stated that she was trying to protect the place and Tom was useless in her eyes, implying that the useless should be eliminated. Morgan learned from Virginia that John and the others were safe, which relieved him. Virginia continued to preach her ideology, claiming they were helping others, but their value lay in the future. Althea now wants to know if these people are connected to Isabel and asks Virginia if they have a helicopter. Virginia dismissed the idea, saying they couldn't possibly acquire such equipment. The next day, Virginia let Morgan and Althea go without causing them trouble, telling them the doors were always open for them. She suggested that the footage Althea shot could be shown to more people to accelerate their progress towards the future. Virginia even gifted Morgan a new stick since his old one had broken and he hadn't found one that felt right since. Morgan and Althea left the place, uncertain of Janice's whereabouts, deciding to return to their convoy. On the road, Morgan resolved to face his inner turmoil, especially since he had started developing feelings for Grace during a previous outing. However, he had been distancing himself from the convoy and Grace due to the unresolved grief of losing his wife and son. After some persuasion from Althea, Morgan was ready to open up and talk to Grace about the future.
Grace? Grace, if you're hearing this, tell me where you are. I need...
When Morgan tried to contact Grace, he was answered by Daniel, who informed him that he and Grace were on their way back to the convoy, but Grace was not in good condition. Morgan eventually spoke to Grace, who was weak and realized that the worst might be happening, possibly due to radiation exposure. Morgan asked for an address and said he'd be there as soon as he could. Fortunately, Grace was stable for the moment, and Morgan successfully brought her back to the convoy. Naomi explained that she was uncertain if Grace's condition was due to radiation, as she was dehydrated and couldn't diagnose the exact illness. Morgan felt guilty for having left Grace. Tom also joined Morgan's group, finding a stark difference between them and the people he had encountered before. To Tom's surprise, he found his sister at the convoy, the very woman who had been trapped at the truck stop. This reinforced their belief in the immense nobility of what Morgan and his team were doing. However, unexpectedly, Virginia also started using documentaries for propaganda, which infuriated Althea to the point of smashing the television. This was a group in the post-apocalyptic world calling themselves the Pioneers, who took it upon themselves to help others rebuild the world. Those they had helped were all singing their praises. People who had once suffered from hunger and displacement were now living peaceful and prosperous lives. All thanks to Virginia. Virginia declared their mission to rebuild a new world, saying, "If you see someone dressed like me, don't be afraid. We are here to help. If your group needs help, contact us on Channel 5. Althea and the others watched this on a TV at a truck stop. Tom knew very well that the reality was not as the video portrayed. They only took in those who were useful. Althea, infuriated that her documentary idea had been plagiarized, smashed the TV in anger. There's not much petrol left in the tanker. The convoy's urgent task was to find a place to settle down. They had searched the surrounding areas but found no suitable location to rebuild their home. During their discussion, a zombie approached, and Dwight quickly dealt with it. Dwight found something on the zombie, a badge identifying him as a sheriff from Ham Canyon. John recalled that Ham Canyon was a rather old-fashioned place with no electricity or modern facilities, but with plenty of houses, isolation, and even a fish pond. Upon hearing John's description, everyone had a mental image of the place and felt it might be their final destination. However, they had just enough fuel to get there, but Grace's body started to deteriorate again. Naomi called out to Grace, who seemed to have lost consciousness. Morgan waited anxiously as Naomi reported that Grace's heart was beating too fast and she was severely dehydrated. She needed N4 immediately. To find medication, the convoy had to take a detour. Fortunately, Althea found the needed medicine in a house, almost losing her life in the process. This was why people steadfastly followed Morgan's team. They never abandoned anyone in trouble. With the timely Grace began to recover. Janice noted poignantly that Virginia's group would never have taken a detour for a sick person and might even have killed her. Tom also said that Morgan's team was the real future and he was glad to be a part of it. Dwight mentioned that they found the medicine Grace needed and only lost some time, but they didn't lose anything of value. John had been shot once and was never treated as a burden. Many in the team had almost lost themselves in the apocalypse, but Morgan's belief had brought them together to do something meaningful. However, they encountered another problem en route. The bridge was the only way to the canyon, and it was clearly in disrepair. Only the armored vehicle and one truck managed to cross safely. Luckily, the oil tanker retreated in time, avoiding an accident. Alicia noted that the wooden planks of the bridge were too old to bear the weight of the oil tanker. Without the tanker, the convoy could not reach its destination, and there were no other bridges nearby to cross the river. Just then, the ropes holding the bridge began to collapse, indicating it was even more fragile than they thought. Morgan urgently called for everyone to retreat. His leadership was crucial at this moment. He calmly directed everyone, telling Sarah not to move the oil tanker hastily as the pressure change might cause a collapse. He instructed everyone to transfer the oil into smaller containers and then to cross the bridge on foot, keeping a 10-meter distance between each person. And at that moment,
Feet! Hey, Morgan, we got company!
A car burst out of the jungle, and it was Virginia who arrived. She said with a smile, "Looks like you need help." Everyone looked at Virginia, uncertain of her intentions. Morgan asked, "How did you know we were here?" Virginia replied without hesitation, "I've been monitoring you. I'm impressed you've come this far with so little fuel, but searching for medicine for a dying woman is foolish." Morgan questioned, "What do you want?" Virginia said, "We're expanding passionately and need good people to join us." Tom immediately retorted, "You wanted to kill me." Virginia responded, "I'd do it again if I had the chance. Killing you would only prove you're a burden. I'm going to treat everyone differently depending on what they do best." Dwight interjected, "Don't bother, we've already refused you." Virginia tempted, "What if I told you I've been searching for your wife?" Dwight's emotions got the best of him, as this was a sensitive topic for him. Fortunately, Morgan intervened to calm him down. "Virginia says one of us met with your wife a few months ago and she's worried about you and I'd like you to join us." Morgan cut her off. "Our way of doing things is different from yours and will continue to be." Virginia disagreed. "We have the same goal but different methods. The future won't be on your side. Anyone who wants to try a new way can join me." It was clear Virginia was trying to poach from Morgan's team. Morgan said to his people, "Anyone who wants to go with Virginia can freely choose." There was hardly any hesitation among the convoy. Dwight declared, Our choice is clear. They know what kind of people Virginia's group is. Virginia smiles a little perfunctorily, clearly annoyed. Her men got the hint and fired shots into the sky. Then Virginia warned, "I just saw a group of zombies at the crossroads. You'll be their lunch. If you can't hold out, call us for help." After that, Virginia drove away. Their immediate priority was to quickly organize everyone to cross the bridge, as zombies had already appeared in their line of sight. Morgan had to arrange the fighters to hold off the zombies to prepare for their retreat. The vehicles couldn't be taken along, so they used them to build a defensive line at the bridgehead, allowing others to evacuate safely. Those capable of fighting were on the front lines, battling the zombies. Under their coordination, everyone maintained a gap and orderly fled to the other side. But the zombies were too many and soon breached the defensive line formed by the vehicles. As the team leader, Morgan was the first to stand in the breach, trying to let everyone cross the bridge. He retreated as he fought. As more zombies climbed onto the bridge, multiple sections began to collapse. The tanker can't be saved. They can only guarantee the safety of the personnel. Morgan urged Tom to stop filming and leave quickly, but Tom insisted on staying behind to film, wanting to show others the kind of team they were. At that moment, Tom tripped on the damaged floor. Janice was frantic as zombies got closer to him. Then the truck at the end of the bridge and the zombies caused the bridge to collapse. Tom smiled, thinking that good people have better luck. As he prepared to get up and continue filming, everyone was tense and urged him not to film but to run. Yet, Tom insisted on showing others what the team was doing. Unfortunately, the worst happened. They could only bury Tom's body by the roadside. All their supplies were left on the other side of the bridge. They considered Ham Canyon their last hope. The remaining 20 miles had to be covered on foot. Althea insisted on documenting the entire process, determined to prove Virginia wrong. After 4 hours of walking, they finally saw the sign for the canyon, feeling like they had found hope. But upon reaching the town, their hope was shattered once again.